Hello Wolfpack, Wanchain video. People are getting annoyed with Wanchain. I sense it. I sense the community getting a bit agitated by the price action. But I seriously don't think it's anything to fear. And I'm going to be going over some things in this video that suggest that we'll be making a move very shortly. And I know I said that. Well, I can't actually remember, but I think I said that in the last video. And that might have been the case. But the point is, we have reason to believe that Wanchain will be moving. I've redone the charts. I've looked at everything once again. I've looked at the weekly chart, Bitcoin pair, daily chart. I've looked at this 4-hourly and all that. I'm not going to be showing the short term in this video because I don't think it's necessarily relevant. But I think that this is going to be an interesting few months for Wanchain. I'll tell you why. Well, it is naturally quite a high risk coin, right? It's pretty low on the market cap rank. It's about 300 around that region. So you can't expect it to be the most confirmed coin that's going to just moon, and there's no doubt about it. What I can say is that the fundamentals are very sound. And I've gone over the fundamentals so many times, but I'm going to go over it again, right, briefly. They've got a DEX, they've got WanSwap, they've got a gamified NFT platform, which is called Zookeeper, all in their ecosystem. They've also got Wanchain, WanLend, where you can basically borrow cryptocurrency. They've got multiple things happening within their ecosystem. They've got a partnership with the State Grid Corporation of China, which is, I think, the second or third biggest company by annual revenue in the world. They work with basically electricity in China and electricity supplying, and they've used Wanchain and Wanchain blockchain to help run their systems more smoothly. And they've had a trial with Wanchain in September. We haven't heard the results of that yet, but they're meant to be coming out in Q4. So we're waiting patiently for that, and no doubt that could be the catalyst for a massive pump on Wanchain for sure. The second biggest company in the world, giving the thumbs up to a coin that's got a market cap, or very low market cap. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's around 200 million to 300 million. So you can imagine the kind of institutional investment that's going to come into Wanchain if that happens. And that could be happening within this bull market as well. Q4's within this bull market, right? We're expecting altcoins to pump into late January, early February, right? So we got plenty of time and plenty of potential. It's definitely what I would call Wanchain is probably a very, very, very high reward for moderately high risk, right? Because obviously there's the chance that the State Grid Corporation of China could turn around and be like, yep, we didn't find Wanchain that useful, not going to use them. Obviously, that would take a massive hit on Wanchain, but even regardless of that, they got some great tech. Definitely bullish on Wanchain. It's one of my low cap holdings in this bull market. One of the biggest ones I have actually. I will say that I'm riding quite a bit on Wanchain. I've got a price prediction for Wanchain. We'll just get into the price prediction straight up because I've got some one-day chart, and that's what this video is about, the one-day chart. But our price prediction, you can check out in depth in the last video. Essentially, Wanchain moves very similar to what ICX does, right? Pull up the Wanchain chart, pull up the ICX chart on the weekly charts. They move identical. The only difference is Wanchain didn't actually see a bull market. It came out in March 2018. The bull market ended in January. Icon did see that bull market, and Icon essentially did something like this, right? And then it started copying Wanchain. We kind of put together some extrapolation of data, and we came up to a price prediction of 28 USD. Well, what we said actually was Wanchain should have reached 28 USD if it was around in the last bull market, right? So what we can say from that is, well, it's not very often that altcoins that are healthy, which we think Wanchain is going to be, don't reach their last bull market all-time highs. So we took that hypothetical price target for the last bull market, and we applied it to this bull market, and we said that Wanchain will likely reach 28 USD. Now, obviously, that is if it succeeds with the State Grid Corporation of China, and that's like the bullish scenario, right? 28 USD is the bullish scenario. I really don't see how it's not going to reach at least its all-time high at 10 USD. That'd be surprising. But again, if the State Grid Corporation of China turns around and says, hey, we didn't find this very useful, then I guess that could be the case. And that's what you got to weigh. You got to weigh up the risks. But the way I see it is that, if you've got your stop losses on Wanchain down at, I don't know, what would you have it at? Like 80 cents, 70 cents, whatever you have it. And then you think about the upside potential to 28 USD, that's 28x, and you're risking 20 or 30%. So it seems good to me. It seems like it's healthy. And even if Wanchain doesn't capture massive attention in the market, if it just moves naturally, it moved naturally the whole time up here, and it got to $2.60, right? So it's still probably going to go up most likely. So you know, that's why I'm saying medium to high risk. I don't necessarily think it's super high risk, because if you manage your risk well and you set some stop losses, you're not really going to lose that much money with Wanchain. You know, it's pretty obvious that it has a pretty strong community that's keeping it above that 80 cent to 70 cent region. We can see that on the daily chart. We'll get into it now. If you want to see the full explanation of my price prediction on the weekly chart, by the way, please go ahead and check out the last video I did on Wanchain. I did a full explanation on the price prediction, extrapolating the data from ICX. I'm not going to explain it again, it'd take too long. I've already done that in the past. So if you're really interested, if you really like Wanchain, if you like what I'm saying about it, go ahead and check that out. But what I will say about the weekly chart before we get into the daily is the fact that what we're doing on Wanchain is flatlining essentially on the RSI. Last time we saw a flat line, right, and every time we see a flat line, really, we have a massive flat line here, we end up moving up to the upside, right? So that's just a rough thing. Obviously, that doesn't really make a massive amount of difference. I just noticed that, right? But what I actually wanted to bring up is the fact that, well, we've peaked on the stock RSI here, stochastic RSI, and we could see that the last time we did this, right, we had this cup formation, we had a little chitter-chatter around the top, right? What did we do here in 2020? We had a little chitter-chatter around the top, we had a cup formation, and then we had a peak, we dropped back down, had this accumulation region, right? And then we headed up again. And when we head up again, we went from here all the way up to here. We've done, you know, we've repeated this cycle. We've come up and we're having that drop down currently. And if we repeat what happened last time, we should be heading upwards and swiping upwards on the stochastic RSI as well. So that's one thing I noticed about the weekly chart, which I found very interesting, you know, potentially bullish there, that I wanted to bring up. Now, the main topic of this video is the 1-day chart. And you know, I have previously drawn a cup and handle formation on Wanchain like this. I had some sort of handle going on. I can't remember exactly what it was like, but it was something like this, right? And it said essentially that we broke out to the upside and then retested that region for support and then head up. But you know, I think that's invalidated. I think that's not actually what's happening on Wanchain. What I think is happening on Wanchain is I think we've had this cup and handle formation here, and we're seeing a massive handle play out, in which we've been seeing that since around late August, right? A massive handle formation. That would make sense. I mean, look how long this thing has been accumulating under $1. For those of you who don't know, $1 is a psychological resistance zone on Wanchain that has acted as resistance massively in the past. So obviously when a coin is trading under $1 for a long period of time, which it was throughout the entire bear market, getting over $1, you know, that psychological barrier in people's heads of $1, you know, is massive. And you know, we've seen it play out. We saw it play out here. We saw it play out here. We saw it play out here. And it's been playing out for this entire region since, you know, late August. So what we're seeing on Wanchain is intense compression. And what happens after compression? I've said it once, I'll say it again, explosion, right? There's no reason in my mind that Wanchain will not be moving up, at least in the short term. Now, whether it moves to 28 USD, you could be a little bit more wary about that, a little bit more pessimistic. But right now, I'm thinking, you know, November, going to be moving over 1 USD and heading up, you know, pretty high, you know, before that peak altcoin season in January. So, look, and I will say as well, just before I get into the 1 daily chart too much, I'm not actually expecting Wanchain to do much until the peak altcoin season in January. If you look at what ICX did, and we're basing it off ICX because Wanchain hasn't actually had a bull market, right? This wasn't a bull market. This was in the dead cat bounce. So what happened with ICX in the last bull market was flatlining until after Bitcoin topped out and then spiking. So basing it off the fact that ICX moved very similar to Wanchain, we could say that Wanchain will just be doing not really too much, right? Maybe something like this. We'll have a little breakout over 1 USD, bounce around a little bit, head upwards slightly, and then in January we'll start to make some big moves, right? That could be something that happens for Wanchain for sure. Now it might do a little bit more than that, right? It might head up to $2.60 before that point, but really we're expecting the most parabolic phase for Wanchain to be after Bitcoin tops out. So don't expect anything too big too soon. But as for this $1 region, what we can do is we can say we had this cup and handle formation. We're having a massive handle downwards channel that we're seeing right now. Massive compression between 83 cents as support and $1 as resistance. And we're actually consolidating within a triangle, a symmetric triangle that is within the wider downwards channel formation. We can see on the VVPR, there is a massive spike in volume. In fact, the biggest spike in volume we have on the VVPR, besides down here at bear market prices, which represents the amount of selling and buying contention in this region. There is a lot of sellers and a lot of buyers, right? People taking profits and people buying. And it could actually be because of the fact, well, Wanchain is just consistently bouncing between 83 cents and $1 over and over and over and over again. So what we could be seeing is a swing trading pattern, and what people are actually doing, what big whales are doing, they're buying at 83 cents and they're selling at $1 over and over and again. And that means that this price cannot really break out of this region. It just keeps bouncing and these whales keep making money. But essentially, eventually those whales are going to let it go. And what we're seeing is compression, and we're seeing retail notice this compression. And this compression should be ending by, at the very latest, the middle of November, according to this chart here, right? So the middle of November, at the very latest, right? It could be much earlier than that. It could be within the next few days, to be honest with you. But at the very, very, very latest, for 15th of November, we should be moving up $1. If we don't move above $1 by the 15th of November, be worried, right? I probably would be looking to potentially get out of a Wanchain at that point, because it would be invalidating all of the TA that we have. So all eyes on the 15th of November. We've got about 2 weeks. I think we'll do it much sooner than that. I think within this week, we'll be moving above $1. That's my personal opinion. Maybe 10 days, I said the whole market will be recovering by early November. We're seeing that play out. So maybe 10 days. Altcoins tend to move in November. So I've got my eyes on Wanchain for that. We can bring up some, actually what we'll do is we'll take our price target from this cup and handle formation. What we can do, one way to do it, is taking from the bottom right hand side test of the cup to the first retest of the top of the handle and applying that to the breakout point. Assuming we break out, let's just say, for argument's sake, right, we break out in let's say 4 days, right? For argument's sake, we break out in 4 days, 5 days, right? What will be happening with Wanchain is a move upwards to around $1.73 by the end of December, which makes sense. As I said, yes, it will probably be moving upwards, but it won't make massive vertical moves until after Bitcoin tops out. I'm expecting Bitcoin to top out on the, I think, 3rd or 6th of January. Go and check my Twitter account on that at 113K. So the end of December, around that $1 to $2 region, sounds pretty reasonable to me. And then from that point, we'll be making some spiky moves as Bitcoin tops and altcoin dominance starts to rise. So the point is, we are still bullish, right? There's still some gains to be made in the short term. And that's the target for the cup and handle formation. We can take the target for the triangular formation as well and compare that to the cup and handle target. And we can apply that to the same breakout point. I think I put it around here. And it says that we will reach, a very similar price region. We said $1.70 from the cup and handle, and it's $1.55 from the triangular formation. So there's a few things lining up there as well for Wanchain. We can look at the Gaussian channel. Flip that for support. We've been holding that consistently for about a month. It's actually crazy how long we've been consolidating. The SMAs are suggesting, and this is one thing I want to bring up, they're suggesting a breakout very shortly. As I said, I think personally within this week we'll be breaking out, because we're just seeing massive compression on the SMAs, which means the price is, not going to be able to move as much as it moved before. And when you have support and resistance SMAs compressing, because think about this, right? Look at this chart, right? I'll show you, I'll zoom in. We had this red SMA, which is the 100 SMA. The price was bouncing between the red SMA, and now that bouncing range is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. What happens when it gets too small? It can't move anywhere. There needs to be a squeeze, and it needs to bounce or drop. And, do you really think it's going to drop in the current state of the market? I don't think so. I think this is going to be a bounce territory for Wanchain. What we can see on the MACD and the stochastic RSI is the fact that, well, on the MACD, we are primed for a breakout, right? That MACD is converging for a bullish cross. If we see some slight upwards momentum, it will be supported. So say we see some slight upwards momentum after $1, and then that cross will happen, it will be supported, and we'll see a bigger bounce upwards. The stochastic RSI is seeing a double bottom, right? And we'll move the MACD. Is seeing a double bottom very similar to what we saw in August, right? When we saw this double bottom on stochastic RSI in August, we saw a break to the upside very shortly afterwards, right? We're seeing that double bottom, and what we will be seeing, in my personal opinion, is a break to the upside, right, within the next week or so. So, it looks good objectively, and that's an objective, that's not even my personal opinion, right? It just looks good. It looks like it should be breaking out. There's extensive compression, the triangle's coming to an end, MACD is lining up, stochastic RSI is lining up. Everything is lining up for a breakout here on Wanchain within the next week or two. At the very, very, very latest, by the 15th of November, everything is lining up for a breakout. So I'm bullish on it, and we'll check out the Bitcoin pair as well. I know a lot of people do like to trade the Bitcoin pair. And I say this every time I bring up Wanchain. What do you want me to say? All right, it's the all-time high on the Bitcoin pair is 100,000 sats. We're at 1,400 sats. We do have a bullish MACD crossing coming, but at the end of the day, we're probably not going to reach this all-time high on the Bitcoin pair again. We can look for some lower targets, right? We have some resistance in this region here. I'll line out some, rough resistance zones here on Wanchain, but, what we've seen and we're actually okay, one thing I will say about this, I've been looking at things to say, but one thing I will say is that we're pretty close to the all-time low on the Wanchain in terms of the Bitcoin pair. Actually, that is the COVID low, so we can delete that. The real all-time low, I don't actually count the COVID drop because it was a black swan event. We're at the all-time low on Wanchain, right? And this is another thing supporting a rally very, very, very shortly. We're at the all-time low on the Bitcoin pair on Wanchain, which means a bounce needs to be happening very shortly, unless, if it doesn't, we'll be breaking the all-time low, which doesn't seem likely again. So if we bounce above, as I said, within the next week or two at the very most, $1, we'll be seeing a bounce in the Bitcoin pair as well, which is supported by that MACD cross as well. So it looks good. It's primed for a breakout for sure. As for end of cycle targets on the Bitcoin pair, I'm looking at about 12,800 sats. I think it could reach that region. That's about I think off the top of my head, about an 8x. I could just measure this out, from this region. Yeah, about an 8x from this region. So that's what I'm looking at for the Bitcoin pair. Bitcoin pair is just another piece of supporting evidence that says we're going to break out. So all in all, we've compressed for a long time. People are getting bored. When people get bored, it's probably the best time to buy. And I think Wanchain's in a pretty good buying position right now. And, as I said, 15th of November, keep your eyes on it. Anything before that time, probably this week, breakout looks very likely. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll catch you in the next one.